You're such an asshole.
Hello, children. Sick Cappy here. I'm sick and you can only just sit and watch television for so long. I watched the entire Castlevania series, Edge Runner, and then All's Quiet on the Western Front. And I thought I'd be okay today. And it's going to be another day of looking at TV. So I'm going to, and it's always been my opinion about being sick. You can feel horrible lying in bed, or you can feel horrible doing something. As long as it isn't too strenuous, you might as well be doing something. Got a question here. Anonymous writes, I recently finished Reconnaissance, man, and you having firsthand experience traveling the country, I'd like some practical advice from you. For example, how you took the scenic route to Alaska as opposed to the fast route. I will be having about 6 months straight of time to recon the country upon exiting the military. My starting point will be Phoenix. I'll have income coming in during this time. On top of already having about $25K saved up. Two big states I can eliminate is Texas and Florida, as I've already visited there. I can also eliminate Georgia, Tennessee, and North Carolina, as I visited there while I was living in Florida. I don't believe these states have anything to offer that the West does bigger and better. That's good. I mean, because there's, generally speaking, the east side of the country sucks. The west side of the country is good, except for the coastal states. But there's still some good states on the east side, and Georgia, Tennessee, and North Carolina are those that I in Florida I enjoyed very much. Texas is all right, but having said that, now you're on the west side of the tracks. That's going to really make things a lot easier. The only two areas that qualify are the West and New Hampshire. Little New Hampshire. That's like that mole on Marilyn Monroe's face. It's just there. Thus, I'd like to get through stage 1 reconnaissance ASAP and possibly even start on stage 2. What practical advice do you have for this regard to that route, as well as anything you think I need to know? Thank you. Well, I linked to it below, Reconnaissance, man. It's all there. It's all there. So I'm afraid I'm just going to, and nothing's really changed. You had a second follow-up. I said, we're just doing it for travel, figure out where to live. You said, figure out where to live. Also, I forgot to mention, since writing Reconnaissance Man in 2016, has your mind changed on certain states that trend socialists like New Mexico, Colorado, Washington? Are these off the list? No, they're not. And I'll explain why and if and then. Well, let's talk about the Alaska thing. I rode to a town called Hyder, Alaska. There are 3 general ways to get to Alaska. One is by ferry or plane. You take a ferry or plane out of Seattle and you go up to Anchorage. And then you drive around what's called the interior of Alaska, which my knowledge of Alaska geography is there's a straight highway, more or less, from Anchorage up to Prudhoe Bay. In Fairbanks, there's another major intersection. And then I don't know beyond that. If you look where Hyder, Alaska is, it's on that bottom tail. It's the cheap man's way to get to Alaska. And I don't think that road goes through to the interior. Anyway, so that's one way is you take the ferry or a plane to Anchorage. The other way is the Can-Am Highway or the Canadian American Highway. That kind of skirts the it stays east of the Canadian Rockies, like it stays in Alberta. Goes up through Edmonton and then cuts over. Kind of basically, it just stays in there, Nebraska and Kansas. And then you cut over at the latitude of Fairbanks, and now you're in the interior. And the other way is to go to that little tail of Alaska where you don't get to access anything else. You just say, I've been to Alaska, which I don't think you want to go there because there's really nothing there. It's beautiful, though. Absolutely beautiful. There's like some practical advice on how you took this. So if you're looking to reconnoiter Alaska, that is one huge state. You got to do it in some. I leave that as its own separate thing. Its own separate thing. That is a monster. You will need an entire summer to deal with that, just to get a feel for it. And I would probably drive, so you have a car. That also allow you to see some beautiful aspects of the Canadian Rockies. I recommend going up through Castlegar, Panorama, Revelstoke, sorry, not Yellowstone, Revelstoke, Banff, and Jasper, and then cut over. Oh no, you don't cut over. You would go up. You'd go up to Edmonton and then cut over. You wouldn't go into Kitwanga, and you're not going to Hyder. So I would, that way you have a car and you could explore it, but that's its own separate beast. And I don't know that much about Alaska. So your starting point is Phoenix. Let's talk about a couple things to streamline it here to make it more efficient. First would be the weather. Make sure you don't want to go to Phoenix in July. All right. If it's July, you should be reconnoitering Montana, Idaho, Washington State, the Dakotas or South Dakota, and if that, even a small part of South Dakota. That there. You don't want to be in Montana in January. The passes close. A lot of places in Colorado, because of the altitude, the passes close. And so I would have that be your first variable you schedule and plan your itinerary from. It doesn't have to be a precise itinerary, but I generally want to be here. I generally want to be there at this time. And there you go. If it sounds like if you're starting in Phoenix, you could probably postpone that till winter. Sounds like you got lodging down there. I think Arizona is a great state. Phoenix is a really nice town. I enjoy it very much. But if if you're staying with family or whatever, rely on that family to let you stay a little bit and check out the area, because that would not be a bad place. And then you're a day's drive from, not even a day's drive, you're like 2-hour drive from Flagstaff, Payson. If you like more of the desert, Tucson. If you're a hippie, Bisbee. If you like snooty white chicks, Scottsdale. Who likes snooty white chicks? So, there's that. Income. So you're in no rush. 25. Yeah, so your finances are good. So let's start with that. Let me pull up the map, because that helps me, because I won't skip over anything. But yeah, I won't lie. It's pretty much just, follow what's in the book. Let's start Phoenix. We'll back out of here. I enjoyed spending time in Phoenix. A good time. Okay. So it depends. Like if you're in Phoenix in winter, you stay down south. If it's summer, you get the hell out. You're going to go up north. But let me just do this. All right. First thing, if you haven't been to Vegas, you're going to have to do Vegas. It's right there. That'd be my first stop, no matter what. Just because it's there. If you have 6 months time, what I would do, stay in Henderson. Stay in the burbs. Find yourself an Airbnb, and just spend a week there. If you golf or hike or whatever, I like Henderson because you go over towards Boulder City. One of my favorite hikes, called the Golden Spike Trail, is there, but you're not necessarily hiking. So just give Vegas at least a week, if not 2 weeks. And I would just be driving around and trying different things. Don't do this strip. You don't need to go to this strip. So there's that. Now, from there, you're going to avoid California. There's nothing in northern Nevada except Reno if you wanted to go there. So that kind of forces you to go northeast. And now you're going to one of my favorite states, Utah. Here's where it's going to depend on you. Salt Lake City is their only major town. So if you need a major metropolitan area, that's about the only place to go. So if you're like, no, I need my Trader Joe's because I'm a snobby white girl. It's Salt Lake City. But if you're amicable, you would agree with staying in some smaller towns. Utah's got some nice smaller towns, especially along that Highway 15 corridor. St. George, that's not even that small of a town now. Everyone's moving out of leftist crap holes. So St. George is really nice. That puts you within some of the best hiking. Like you're like I think 40 minutes away from Zion. There's the Grand Escalante. Utah is just it's an amazing playground if you're into hiking. It's beautiful, great for motorcycle riding, everything. And so once if you get to Utah and you're this I really didn't mention too much in Reconnaissance, man. So I'll give you added value here. I'd be looking at these small towns like St. George is pretty big. Kanab is a kind of a nice, quiet, small town. Cedar City is great. right up against the mountains. Bryce Canyon's there. It's right. They're all no more than 30 miles away from each other. Cedar City's got a university. It's got a great pastry shop. It's got a little bit of a cosmopolitan feel. If I had to live in Utah, well, first it'd be Moab, but assuming I'm not super rich, which I'm not. So if Cappy had to move to Utah, I'd probably be going to Cedar City. So there's that. Parowan, you're getting a little bit out there. A lot of not Muslims, Mormons. Nothing wrong with that. It's a Mormon community. Yeah. Then you're going to go up to Salt Lake. Then on the other side of the state, kind of the 191 corridor. Like if you have the money and the temperature and everything, what I would do is I would bivouac over in Moab. Stay in Moab at least 2 weeks. And you could go check out Moab and you'll be there. I would stay within the town, even though it's very expensive. But use that to kind of explore the area. I'd be going down south to Bluff, check out Mexican Hat, do all the hiking you want in that area. Canyonlands National Park is my favorite. There's a town called Cortez, Colorado that I really like. That's kind of a far removed Western town with a 1950s feel to it. And then there is no direct way to get there, but since you're in the area, I would definitely check out Gateway, Colorado. If you want to be left the F alone and be in heaven, go to Gateway, Colorado. It's out in the middle of freaking nowhere. It is an obtuse route to get there. There's no one there. I mean, there's like a gas station and I think there's a ranch. I would go to Gateway. Like if the girlfriend died or left me and I became a curmudgeonly old miser and I'm leaving society, you will find me in Gateway, Colorado. Oh yeah, the old grumpy hermit lives up there. He came in with some kind of Minnesota accent. So there's that. I really like the town of Vernal, but I don't know if you'd want to live there. I only like it because of Dinosaur National Monument. And then you can go Salt Lake. So you're kind of doing a triangle in Utah, St. George, Cedar Point. I guess I would go to Moab first, and then I go up to Salt Lake City. And there you have it. Say hi to Rurb for us in Salt Lake. All right. Now, jeez. Let's talk about Colorado. Here's where another thing to kind of either put things on your list or not. If you're generating income from the military, I'm going to assume a pension. I'm also going to assume that you got yourself a sliver and got 98% disability and you're getting an $8 billion a check month because your finger only bends 93% the way it used to because you stubbed it on a door one time. Oh my God, here's your check. Unfair. It's not just single mom trash collecting the government checks. But I believe not a lot of that is taxed, correct? So what you have to consider is, okay, in Reconnaissance, man, there's a heavy emphasis on states that don't have state income taxes. But if you don't make that much money or a significant percentage of your income is not taxable, well, then I don't know. It wouldn't be you're passing up on a lot of good states that, yes, they may have income taxes, but you're not going to pay that much, or the state income tax itself is not that much. Arizona is one of those places. Yes, there's a state income tax, but it's small. I believe Utah is the same way. Colorado, culturally speaking, has gone way left if you're on the east side of the mountain range. It is still America on the west side. But that being said, Colorado is an amazing state as well. I really love Colorado. Cortez, Durango, that corridor from Durango up to Montrose, the Uncompahgre mountain range. It's Highway 550. I think that is just, there's towns. If you're okay with the cold, Silverton, Ouray, do not go to Telluride. Speaking of snobby white chicks, do not go to Telluride. But that's kind of, and that Cortez area, that's, maybe you could loop that in while you're in Moab. You kind of do a big ass loop down to Cortez, up, check out all the towns, take a week or two, kind of reconnoiter that area. And then there's other smaller towns within Colorado, of which there's not a lot. I visited, only drove through like Craig or Meeker, Salida, things like that. But that entire stretch between pretty much the Wyoming border down to Colorado Springs is a traffic nightmare. Denver and Fort Collins, especially, it's become a cultural nightmare. They legalized pot, and then all the douchebag hippie kids came in. Hey, man, free stuff. There was a time not more than 10 years ago, I would have loved to live in Denver. Because I didn't make that much money. I like the mountains. It is a cosmopolitan town. You could get around it. And like literally in the past 10 years, I don't know if it's the Californians or all the potheads that have moved in, but it's just a crap hole. I guess now there's a permanent homeless shelter on the Capitol grounds. And, what are white people going to do? They're going to just give you more money. I mean, now, if you want to be homeless, oh, my God, all the Karens in the world will gladly give you their husband's money. How much do you want? Okay, hubby, write the check. I need to feel good about myself. But I think culturally, it would drive you nuts. So I would absolutely stay away from the I-25 corridor. So there's that. Wyoming, avoid it like the plague. The people are absolutely toxic. I don't know if you've seen any of my videos on Wyoming is a beautiful place to visit. The only way I would consider living in Wyoming is if you wanted to be left the F alone. Like you want to go find, and maybe, hell, that'd be a hike. It'd be a hike. Maybe you come down on the way back. Maybe you hit that on the way back. But maybe I'd live in a town like Ten Sleep, which is on the other side of a mountain range. There's nothing there. You left the F alone. You could drink yourself into oblivion, which sounds very romantic and nice, actually. But I would just avoid Wyoming in general. But, if you got time, drive through it, check it out, hang out a little bit. There's that. All right, but let's just assume now you've done that western side of Colorado, a little bit of Utah, or a lot of Utah. Now you're going to shoot north. And what I would do is it's going to be a bit, but I would hightail it and aim for Yakima, Washington State. And the reason why is Washington has a no state income tax, aside from the I-5 corridor, the Seattle, Tacoma, Portland area. I mean, on the east side of the Cascades, it's America. On the west side, it's a bunch of degenerate filth that just wants free crap. And people poop in the streets, and they whine and complain about, Jeff Bezos making a lot of money, and they burn and riot. And okay. So there are other towns in Washington. I did like Leavenworth. I guess that's getting kind of pricey, but let me zoom in here. Yakima. There's a bunch of towns. I'm trying to find the towns that I liked. I mean, if you really want to be left alone, there's, Stehekin. I haven't visited all these, but there's mountains there. And if you like mountains and gorgeous scenery, that, now just keep in mind, Washington State is not all forests and mountains. There's the ocean, there's the peninsula, then there's the Puget Sound, then there's the Cascades. Then there's desert, essentially, and then the Rocky Mountains pick up as you start entering the Idaho border. So there's not a lot in those empty in that. I mean, there's towns, but I don't know if you want to go there. So I would stay in the Cascades area and be on the east side of them. You don't want to be so hot, so tall, or so high that it gets really cold. Unless you like the cold. I mean, hey, great winter sports. If you like it, absolutely, I'd spend some time in the Cascades. But I'd maybe HQ out of Leavenworth. There's other towns you could check out. You don't have to HQ. I'm just familiar with it. All right. Then after you explore that area, go to Spokane. And here you could kind of do the panhandle of Idaho. My impression of Idaho, the southern half, forget it. I was in Boise. You'll drive through Boise. There's nothing in Boise, just high tundra. The panhandle is pretty, but I've only driven over the interstate I-90. I love the towns along I-90 in Idaho. Kellogg, Wallace. I could probably stay in Wallace. Wallace is a small little town that it's nice. And then if you want, that'd be a good launching point if you want to drive up into the Canadian Rockies. You go through Bonners Ferry. But Coeur d'Alene is there too. I forgot to mention that. I thought it was a little overrated. It's very nice. There's a nice lake there. Wasn't too crowded. People keep slamming on it, like, oh, there's a lot of crime. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I didn't grow up in the ghetto, but I've seen crime. This is not a crime-filled area. What? Oh, yeah, look out for the people. What, really? Maybe there's a meth problem. I don't know. But, so there's that. And then, going into Montana. Here, man, you could spend a whole 6 months out here if you'd like. And so, let us begin. Do not go to Billings. Montana is basically this. The furthest western third of it is mountainous and pretty. The western 2/3 is tundra crap. Not to say there aren't some occasional mountain ranges, but you want to be, if you want pretty, you want to be on the western side. Included in there places like Kalispell, very quaint town until I think like the white national movement or supremacist movement moved there. It's still a nice town. Whitefish, but these are all tourist towns that support Glacier National Park. Also, it's not even that it'll get cold. You're just going to have a butt ton of snow. So if you're okay with that, although I guess if you're okay with looking at Alaska, maybe you would be okay with this. Maybe you do like snow and being left alone. So, it's up to you. Missoula, and so then you have your major towns: Butte, Missoula, Bozeman. Now, what's his name? Joker was going to stay in Bozeman. Let me zoom. I only see Missoula here. So I was not impressed with any of these towns. In fairness, I didn't spend a lot of time in these towns. But I wasn't that impressed with them. Missoula kind of has a liberal feel to it because there's a university there and stupid people go to university. I do mean that. You people who go to college are pretty dumb. You're not intelligent at all. You don't know anything. I would say you don't know. You know so little. No, you don't know anything. There's Helene. No, Helene is the capital. Never been to Helene. There's Butte. Butte was an old mining town, so I got a lot of feel like Casper, Wyoming. A lot of commercial, industrial, which is fine. That's how they make their living, but it wasn't a pretty city. There's mountains in the area and all that. You're not that far out from Yellowstone if you want to go there. Where is it? There's Bozeman. Yeah, Bozeman's even closer to Yellowstone National Park. Go through Butte, go through Bozeman, check out Missoula, spend some time, drive around, check out the area. I have not been north of the interstate in Montana except when I went to Glacier, but I took the train. So I don't know in between 90 up to Highway 2. I've never been in that area of Montana. Maybe you find that nice small town. I will say though, where's Missoula? There's Salmon Arm. Let me get this. Highway 93, dropping south out of Missoula. That is a nice highway with a lot of small little towns that are largely used for tourist fishing. The Bitterroot Mountains are right there. They are a beautiful mountain range, very jagged. I climbed Trapper Peak, which is more impressive. If you look at Trapper Peak, like, oh my God, you climbed that? Yeah, but the road went up like all but the last 4 miles. So it really wasn't a victory. I didn't like climb from the road up to the mountain. I drove up most of it. But I was like going through these little towns. I'm like, this would be, and Darby, Como, Ward, Grantsville, Hamilton, Victor, Stevensville, Florence, Carlton, Lolo. Those are, and where does 93 go? Does that go to, I wonder if that goes back down to Boise. Where does that go? Yeah. Yeah, Salmon. I've never been to Salmon. And that entire area west of that, I haven't been there. Far, from Boise, literally up to about Salmon Arm, I haven't explored that area. So maybe you go bum around there. But I would stay. There's Bozeman. Yeah, I wouldn't go any further than Big Timber. Don't go any further east than Big Timber. You might like Red Lodge. It's a cute little town. But then you're going up in Yellowstone, which is Wyoming. We don't go to Wyoming, boys and girls, because Wyoming is for crappy people. Are you a crappy person? You're not? Then you're not allowed in Wyoming. Yeah, and then the eastern 2/3 of Montana is not worth it. All right. Now, the road back. Yeah, the more and more I think about it, I would just have a very lucid, tentative plan to do a big ass oval. Like I said, the timing and route of which will be dependent upon weather. But we've gone up the west side of this oval more or less. Now we're going to come back down. So what I would recommend you do is you're going to go from wherever you are in Montana, and you're going to drive to the Black Hills of South Dakota. This will take you through towns. You will go through Billings. Do not stop unless you're getting gas. You go through Sheridan. Look at what a nice picturesque town it is and know it lies to you. And you go through Buffalo. You can wave at my old place that I used to live. And you say, oh, this is also a nice place. Show up when everyone's drunk and shooting each other. And then you're going to, you know what? If you're there, okay, I'll tell you this. If you're there, you're not going to live here. I take this all back. You're staying somewhere. Let's say you're staying in Bozeman, Montana, right? It really is worth it for you to go and drive through Red Lodge and go up Beartooth Pass and do Chief Joseph's Highway. That's one of the most beautiful passes. It's one of the most beautiful things in the contiguous United States. It's worth it. And you could go fast to get to the Black Hills, but I wouldn't have you do that. So this would just be scenery. I don't know. Maybe you're going to love Wyoming. Maybe you love people to have sex with their sisters. I don't know. Maybe you like their culture and their traditions of pig screwing. Perhaps you could get a loan and finance a trailer with it and not make payments back. I know maybe you want to be Wyomingian, but let's just say you're there for a tourist. Hop over Beartooth Pass. Yes, Yellowstone National Park is there. Overrated. Yeah, it's pretty, but if you want, drive through. Okay. By the way, first national park you go to, which I'm going to forecast will be Zion. Get your national parks pass. Wait, you're military. I think you get in for free. So look at that. Make sure you get your pass though to get in for free. Go do Yellowstone, tour it around. Drive to Gardenier, drive out the other way back through Cody, all right? And then what I want you to do is go down through Warland and then Ten Sleep. This will get you through the back door to the highway that's going to take you to South Dakota. And then just look at the town of Ten Sleep. This is if you want to be left the F alone. This is Aaron's leave me the F alone place if I had to live in Wyoming. Otherwise, Gateway, Colorado would be where I'd go. Ten Sleep, you're in the there's nothing there. There's like a river. Like, where's the river coming from? I'm like, oh, those big mountains over there. Those are the Bighorn Mountains. So you'll be in Ten Sleep. It's not going to take long for you to reconnoiter. Maybe get some gas, have a drink at the bar. Like, okay, do I like it or not? It's just an option. Then you're going to make it up Highway 16. You're going to go through 10 Sleep Canyon. And that is cool. That is cool. It's not as good as Beartooth Pass, but it's like 97% as good. It's a really cool drive. You'll then come in the back door of Buffalo, Wyoming. Don't be surprised if people are having sex with their sisters or their cousins in the streets. It's their way. It's the Wyoming way. All right? I wouldn't stop in Buffalo. Get your gas. If there's a place to stop, stop at the Occidental Hotel. Get yourself some food, look at a real Western bar, and then go. Don't wait for night. It's like vampires, all right? Like there's they come out at night, and it's like, yeah, the meth heads and the drunks come out. I mean, we're not talking like your regular college drunks. We're talking violent, pissed off dudes who got nothing else going on in their lives. If you look different, they're gonna fight you. So there you go. All right. Then you get out of there, take 90. You're going to go all the way to the Black Hills. Black Hills, I'd spend a week there. I don't think you have to go to Badlands National Park unless you wanted to. Because it's pretty, but no one really lives out there. And again, if you want to really be left alone, go to scenic South Dakota or Ardmore, South Dakota. You can find land cheap out there. But I would check out towns like Spearfish, Deadwood, Lead. I'm not impressed with Sturgis. Sturgis it's not that cool of a town. Rapid City I enjoy. Hill City is tourist. No. Hill City is touristy. Keystone, touristy. Custer is all right. I like Hot Springs. If I were to live in a real town, I would live in Hot Springs. Check out that area. Bada boom, bada bing. There you're done. And, see Mount Rushmore. All right. Then you're coming down the I-25. Honestly do not see any reason you would want to be in Denver or anywhere along this I-25 corridor. Trick is you may want to be into some of the towns that are nestled within the mountains immediately to the west of I-25. So towns like Empire, Blackhawk. What was it? There's on the Poudre River. What was that town? Where was it? There's Fort Collins. Was it Rustic? There's Blackhawk. Conifer. Yeah, just not on the interstate, nestled within the mountains. However you decide to navigate that, where you're like, no, I want to go home, I don't want to deal with Denver, and you just decide to shoot through the the prairie, which I recommend taking Highway 71. You'll just avoid it. Coming out of the Black Hills. Yeah, go through Scottsbluff and just drop south. You're not losing any time. Then I'd rehook up on the interstate south of Colorado Springs or in Colorado Springs. I enjoyed Colorado Springs. I hear it's getting more hippy-dippy, but at least there's a military base, and it's not Denver. So if you live on the south side of town, you're not got to worry about traffic. Idiots in Colorado are commuting from Colorado Springs to Denver. They're morons. And so if you live on the south side of town, it might be there. And then you're down on Highway 25, a cute little town. I don't know if you're a hippie or you're okay with it. Check out Trinidad, Colorado. You are not good. You're going to be the only Republican there, or the only not leftist there. But I'm like, man, this would be a town to get drunk and high in. I think Chad Elkins would love him. And if I dropped off Chad and Atham in that town, and Chad's not that far away. He's over in Santa Fe right now. If I were to drop those two morons off, guarantee I'd come back. They would have morphed into Cheech and Chong. They'd have beads in their hair. They'd have hippie bands. And hey, dude, they'd be wearing sandals and loud colored pants. We found our Nirvana, man. It's good to be a chemical engineer, but it's all wrong, dude. Those two. Oh God, I don't know why I didn't recommend that to these guys sooner. Holy cow. All right. And then you're in South Dakota. Then you're in New Mexico. I am not a fan of New Mexico. The Enchanted Circle is nice, but it's nothing exciting. Angel Fire is okay. Taos is okay. Santa Fe, I'm not a fan of Santa Fe. Not a fan of Santa Fe, and that's usually the best they got to offer. There's Albuquerque. There's Santa Fe. I just not that impressed. Not that impressed with New Mexico. And nothing against people at Santa Fe or Albuquerque, but it's actually the rest of the state. Um, they just Olympic League trailer trash. You go in New Mexico. I remember I was there when I was 25, 26. And I'm looking every little town, doesn't matter where you are, big town, little town, doesn't matter. People leave crap in the yards all over the place. I'm like, what the hell is this? Those people don't care about the same community. They just don't care to clean up after themselves. I don't say they're dirty people, but they're an unkept. They just like they're bad neighbors. Is what. Not that they're going to come and rob you, although that happens in Albuquerque. But I look at these communities. They don't have the local community pride parade where everyone comes out and then you got the marching band. And I don't mean the gay pride parade. I mean pride in their community. Where whatever. What's the town? Las Vegas, New Mexico, and they have Las Vegas days. They don't have that. They're like, hey, today's bring your trash out in your front yard. Why is the garbage man picking up? No, it's just like putting trash in our front yard. It's a competition to see who's like, even more of a meth head crack trailer type of person. And so, and I did a fair amount of driving around through. I went Socorro, Truth or Consequences, Alamogordo. And what you'll find out if you got to choose between the two desert states, between Arizona and New Mexico, Arizona by a mile. Prettier. The people are more, respectable. They pick up the crap in their yards. I guess less people on welfare. Interestingly enough, though, you would think, what's it called? Where's El Paso? Yeah, El Paso, Texas. I know you're not interested in Texas, but I didn't mind El Paso. I was like, man, this is like a Western frontier town. It is a Western frontier. I was like, I kind of like this out here. I'm sure there's a lot of crime and crap. I know. There you are. And then you would come back and have Lady Phoenix. So that should do you. I know we skipped out on Oregon. It's kind of out of the way. If you want to loop in Klamath Falls in there and kind of stay similar to Seattle, stay on the east side of the Cascades or within the Cascades, that's fine. Bend, what's his name? The tornado chasing kid. He'd know more about it than me. But California, absolutely not. Their state politics makes the entire state untenable. Oregon, I just would refuse to. Portland people disgust me. But Washington, there's still a little bit of sanity and reason, and they have no state income taxes. That's why I had you skip Portland and that. And then I think that's it. The only town I can recommend maybe hitting that we did talk was Reno, but it's out there. But yeah, otherwise I just follow what's in the book. But for your particular situation, that's the loop I do. One way or the other. It's up to you, whichever way you go. I would be very adaptable and let weather and where do you want to live, what type of town you want to live in, kind of determine what towns and hamlets. I'm just having you go to kind of major, semi-major town to semi-major town or areas. But this is under the presumption that, okay, I'm going to go scope out some other stuff and figure out where I want to live. Thankfully, because Denver's such a crap hole and New Mexicans just like leaving trash in the yard, you kind of can wipe out 2 full states from this. So there you are. All right. Nope. Yet more nope for $2. Thanks, nope. Today's super chats go to getting chicken noodle soup. So weak and sad I am. Is that it? That's it. All right. We'll see you guys later. Toodles.